I don't know if Drive Tribe viewers really want to know this. I did have to destroy at least 2 pairs of pans. Individual films, I think it has to be the Ford GT versus the Ferrari that I did in season 2 of the Grand Tour because, well, partly because it was very popular, which is always gratifying, but also it felt very special. I mean, they're old cars. I'm not that much of an old car person, but you know, the associations and the fact that we were on the track and it was the actual cars that did it, that was pretty special. And it looked good. Good camera work. I'm quite pleased with that one. I'm happy for my friends to watch it. Now this is an interesting question. If you are a true petrol head, and opinions about this change over time, but the standard answers are you should drive an Alfa Romeo because then you will know what it's like to be related in a passionate way with a machine, because that supposedly is what Alfa Romeos do. There's another argument that says it should be an original Mini because then you know what the elemental pleasures of driving a car and feeling how it works and how it interacts with the roads. You will get all that. You'll get that more from a Mini than anything else. I actually think though, from my perspective, if you're interested in sort of the history of the car and what it means to the state of being human and to the development of society, you have to drive, I'm sorry to have to say this, a Beetle, because it is without question the most interesting car that's ever existed. Never mind that it's also the best-selling car that's ever existed. The story behind it, the unlikeliness of its progress from a sort of Nazi runabout through to a surfer dude's device in the form of a beach buggy, it's absolutely fascinating, and the twists and turns in it. And you've got this frankly terrible car. People like Ford, who said, you know, it was too noisy and too terrible. They were right, it is terrible. But it is the most significant and important car ever made. So if you're into cars, you have to drive that. Only once, because you'll hate it, but drive one. Not a beach buggy, that's cheating. A Beetle. The older the better. The cars I'm excited about driving soon, there are a few, but I'm hoping to drive a Model 3 Tesla soon. I'd actually quite like to have a Model 3 Tesla, so that's sort of exciting on a personal level. I'm also going to borrow, in the next couple of months, a McLaren 600 LT, which looks to me to be a sort of supercar sweet spot almost between being high performance but being, you know, an extreme McLaren. I don't really want a P1 or a Senna, that's too much, but I think the 600 LT could be, yeah, a bit of a benchmark. I hope so. Friends who have driven them, you know, say it's fabulous. I have stopped sweating, yes. I had to, I don't know if Drive Tribe viewers really want to know this. I did have to destroy at least 2 pairs of pants because it was so sweaty in the car. I mean, it probably did me some good. I've got very clear pores and a very fresh complexion as a result. I was in a permanent sauna even before I got into the sauna, which, to be brutally honest, was no hotter than the rest of the car. But it did terrible things to my clothes and particularly my pants. And they weren't going to rinse out, so I burned them. Anyone who aspires to being a motoring journalist should join Drive Tribe. It's the best opportunity you've ever had. Nobody can stop you. There's no editors in the way, no trade bodies, no organisations, nobody telling you that you can do it this way or that way. You can simply do it and get on with it, so do that. Not very long, I suspect. I think as long as the battery lasted in his mobile phone. But when that ran out, he wouldn't know if anybody liked his Instagram pictures, and then he'd panic. And as there's nobody to talk to on a desert island, he wouldn't be able to hear his own voice, so he'd probably assumed he'd died anyway. I have driven the new Porsche 911. It felt exactly like a Porsche 911. It doesn't bother me that it's turbocharged or what the steering is like or whatever. It still felt 911-ish to me, and it was really rather nice. Suzuki. I find Suzuki's strangely endearing and rather entertaining. I mean, I really enjoyed the Ignis, I really enjoyed the new Jimny, I really enjoyed driving the Celery because it's got that little 3-cylinder engine, and that makes a big difference compared with a similar car with a 4-pot, because the torque characteristics and the vibrations are just slightly different and slightly more exploitable. And my mother always has a Suzuki. I can't come up with a better recommendation than that. My mum is on her 4th Suzuki. As a supercar, it's still the Countach, I think. It's not the greatest car by any means. They're actually pretty terrible and pretty crude and very disappointing to drive if you grew up with one on your bedroom wall and making the Tamiya model of it and all the rest of that stuff. But as a piece of drama and as an automotive artwork and a statement of what the supercar is about, I think the Countach is still it. And it still looks modern. The original LP400, before it became FLED, is an absolute masterpiece, I think. Probably the most exciting looking car that has ever existed or maybe ever will. A Daimler hearse, because that's efficient. The elephant is the only animal in creation with 4 forward-facing knees. So it's the only animal that has 4 legs like ours. All other animals either have effectively an arm at the back or they have a knee the other way around. But the elephant is a proper 4-wheel drive animal. Anything I'd like to tell the world? I once murdered a man in a petrol station. Well, if you liked that, it's hard to imagine that you did, but if you did, why not subscribe, why not like, why not ask me another question in the comments section below? Ask me anything you like, within reason. I mean, if it's really stupid, I'm just not going to answer, so